It's Friday, the 23rd of February, and as always, there's a lot going on in the world. So glad to be talking about that. And of course, we've got Sasha Starr with us, as well as Nick Palveda, and they'll be coming up shortly. And then there may be others joining in the conversation also. But right now, one of the things that I am seeing is that definitely it does look like there is more news coming out of Israel as Netanyahu is detailing his vision for a post-war Gaza, and he is definitely saying that it will include free reign for the Israeli military. And of course, his first post-war plans are saying that there'll be a security buffer in Gaza, and some people are saying that that is a blow to U.S. diplomacy. But we'll see if that's the case and if folks agree with that or not. And of course, we do know that this is the second anniversary of the war in Ukraine and all in that space. So definitely a lot of folks are hoping that Ukraine will maintain its independence and that this war will end. But definitely it looks like a lot of folks are wondering at what point the war will end and how it will have its ending. I know a lot of folks are hoping that Crimea will be freed as well. So there are a number of things that are in that conversation. And you know, a lot of times we talk about medical things that are going on in the United States. Well, it doesn't just impact the United States, it also impacts other parts of the world as well. So, actually, in South Korea, there is a health alert that has been raised to severe over the doctor's walkout. So, over 70% of trainee doctors submitted their resignations in South Korea. So, there is a doctor strike there in that part of the world. And of course, that is going to put a strain on their medical situation, as that is a whole lot of doctors and all in that space. And then in Spain, there is a deadly fire in Spain's southern city of Valencia. So that is something else that we are seeing in the news. And that was actually involving a residential building and other buildings as well. So definitely a lot of folks will be having conversations around that and thoughts around that also. And it looks like Hungary is set to remove the final barrier to Sweden joining NATO. So Swedish Premier has visited Hungary to discuss those stalled NATO bids, but it does look like they are going to allow Sweden into NATO following a jet fighter deal. So that is something else that we're seeing in the news, and a lot of folks will be paying attention to that as well. And the reported leak of Chinese hacking documents support experts' warnings about China and its involvement in cyber terrorism and things along those lines. So definitely it'll be interesting to see folks' thoughts about that as well. And it looks like the UK is under fire, as definitely there are some folks that are having some conversations around their discussion around a Gaza ceasefire and the resolution that some people wanted to pass in that area and all along those lines. And Europe apparently is trying to Trump proof itself as Putin's war in Ukraine looms over NATO. So I guess they're trying to prepare for what should happen should Mr. Trump come into office later on this year and definitely be in running the country by the time he would be sworn in, should he win that and all in that space. But definitely it'll be interesting what goes on in that part of the world. And definitely we do know that there are a number of conflicts around the world that are taking place on a regular basis. And by the way, sometimes people wonder if sanctions work. And apparently, the UK is targeting Russian military with further sanctions, and the EU has approved a new sanctions package against Russia. So it does seem like there are some of these countries that are going in that space and all along those lines. And it does look like in Canada, the Canadian court has ruled that the killing of four Muslims was terrorism. So definitely in that Nathaniel Vietman trial, looks like that particular gentleman has gotten life for killing that Muslim family. So they have ruled that that was an act of terrorism there in that part of the world, there in Canada. And AOC is suggesting cutting off aid to Israel after the U.S. vetoes a ceasefire resolution. So she's over there is giving her words in as to what she thinks should be going on in that part of the world. And Houthi rebels attack sets cargo ships ablaze and forces Israel to intercept another attack. So it's not just the war against Hamas, but it's also the war against the Houthis as well. And South Africa tells the top UN court that it's accusing Israel of apartheid um, against the Palestinians. And some folks may have some interesting thoughts around that as well. So definitely, like I said, there are a number of conflicts that are going on and a number of conversations that are taking place as well. But definitely, I'm here to bring up Sasha and others. But definitely, we'll talk about some of the things we've mentioned on the story, and I'll get to some of the U.S. news as well. Biden has announced more than 500 sanctions on Russia after Navalny's death and everything. So it looks like Biden is also getting into that conversation along with the European countries about sanctions. And Republicans are struggling to respond to the Alabama embryo ruling. So Michael Moore, the famous filmmaker, says sperms or eggs will be considered human life after the controversial court ruling on IVF. So it'll be interesting to see if that is the case and if he is right in that case. And a man was found guilty of murder in an Alaska Native woman's killing that was captured on, looks like it was captured on film and everything. It was a stolen memory card that was used as evidence as the man was convicted in a slaying of two Alaskan women. So definitely that stolen card might have got him in trouble in that particular case and all along those lines. And police are suspecting foul play after a local nursing student was found dead at the University of Georgia. So we are also seeing that in the news as well. And a Oklahoma teenager's death is sparking term the gender expansive and bringing that to the light. So the Oklahoma governor is calling it from transparency from police that are investigating the death of New Benedict and everything. So definitely it does look like the family is seeking answers and all along those lines, because definitely this is involving the trans community and the whole concept of bullying as well. Because we do have a show here on the network called Where is the Love that deals with bullying. And of course, all eyes will be on South Carolina, as definitely it looks like Haley's state might be turning towards the Trump camp as well, because it does look like, as of right now, that he is winning and winning handily. And there are some people that want her to drop out of the race, but I think that I've heard that she is hoping to stay in the race as long as she can, as in that space. So definitely it will be interesting to see what goes on in that way, and if she drops out after South Carolina or she stays in all the way to the end and all in that way. So, and a lot of people are also paying attention to the GOP possible shutdown. So the federal government is to begin the formal process of preparing for a partial shutdown once again. So definitely it looks like we might be heading into another government shutdown, and it'll be interesting to see how that plays out and what folks have to say about that. And, Florida's in the news again, and I don't know how they're going to get away with this particular one. Maybe Nick's got an idea because it's something we talk about on the media show. But apparently, Florida has passed strict social media restrictions for minors, despite DeSantis having some misgivings about this. So, Florida bill to help to keep children under 16 off of social media moves forward amid details on debate on the government's role and parental rights. So it does look like down there in Florida, they're going to try to restrict the young people from getting on social media. And that ought to be interesting to see how they're going to pull that off. So I'll bring in a Rick Rosner, and I know he's in the social media lane sometimes, as well as Sasha Starr and Lee Newton Rhodes also. But what are our thoughts around this? How are they going to even pull off doing this, the whole social media aspect and all along those lines? Because I'm thinking of like, yes, parents should have uh, control of what their parents do. I mean, what their kids do, and all along those lines. But kids are very resourceful, and I'm just wondering how
Yeah,
they're going
any kid
to
who's
voice
not
it.
an idiot will be able to sneak back on. I believe. But I don't know what the specifics are.
Yeah,
Rick, there's no way for them to have to prove their age through uploading some.
If you look at the age restricted stuff, that like if you want to sign into like a booze website, they ask you your age, and you just tell them an age.
No, I understand that. That's on the honor system. But if you have to upload a driver's license or passport or birth certificate, that kind of reduces the chances of a minor getting on. Does it not?
Well, yeah, your parents have to go to sleep sometime, and when the parents
no, forget
go to
about
sleep,
the parents. I'm saying the website itself.
I mean, Lee, along
Yeah,
those
but
same
no,
lines.
once your parents fall asleep, you get in their wallet, you grab a driver's license, you upload it, and you beat your mom for the purposes of getting on social media. And maybe you get caught because maybe I don't know, but yeah,
But
kids will figure it
Lee
out.
and Rick, along those same lines, that is part of what has gone on, and I brought it up before. I think ever since January, and we're now getting ready to head into March. But one of the larger porn sites in the country, Pornhub, is still attacking North Carolina because North Carolina did what you wanted to be done, Lee, and everything. So they wanted people to require an age restriction and everything. So they have definitely gone against that and have said that they won't come back to North Carolina until North Carolina changes its rules, because North Carolina was saying that they
Mark, I'm sorry. Can you repeat that? What did you just say? Pornhub is not going to come back. So that's a threat. That's good for society, is it not?
I mean, like I said, apparently they're not coming to North Carolina. So there's some people in North Carolina that might be driving to Virginia, for all I know, if that's what they want to indulge in. And as I think Rick has said, that just opens the door for other sites that might not be as much of wanting to be activists, because there are hundreds, if not thousands, of said kind of sites and everything. So if one site chooses to stand on their principles, for lack of a better term, and everything, then it just opens the door for other sites to come into the space as well. So they definitely have opened up and said that they're not going to come to North Carolina, but doesn't mean they won't go to Virginia, or they won't go to South Carolina or Tennessee, which are nearby and everything. So like I said, if it was a nationwide thing, then it could be a interesting battle, but they are picking a battle with North Carolina because North Carolina picked a battle with them.
Well, you can't make any money at that, but you can make money with NVIDIA stock.
Right.
So let's listen to Sasha, because he predicted this like a year ago, that buy NVIDIA. Finally, it's come true. So I know he's retiring in Aruba on NVIDIA stock, but tell us what's going on from Aruba.
Well, obviously, NVIDIA was a premier stock a year ago, 2 years ago. But I must say that 12 years ago, in 2012, I was trading NVIDIA stock and options. I was buying NVIDIA stock. I was selling covered calls. So I'm quite familiar with NVIDIA through all these years, what they're doing, and what the behavior of the stock. And remember, each stock has its own patterns, because essentially the same people, the same market makers, trading the same stocks, and you can see there what they're doing in the morning, what they're doing during the day, how they close the stock, how they run away. These people who bought margin stock a week ago, they chase them down for 3 days in a row, and then the report comes. But of course, the most important thing is the report. Their report shows that NVIDIA is in uncharted waters. There is nothing to compare to NVIDIA. No company, no stock, absolutely nothing. It's like the same like I have people who believe in buying all American market S&P 500, but you can separate 500 S&P stocks into two categories: one NVIDIA and one other 499 stocks.
Sasha?
Hey, Sasha, just really quickly, how much of NVIDIA is involved in AI? Because definitely that is what I understand NVIDIA is very much involved with, and AI is very much of a new phenomenon, and a lot of people are talking about AI and AI's future. So how much of NVIDIA is based on AI, and how much of it is based on other aspects of their portfolio?
I'm not great enthusiast of AI as a whole. It's kind of each company will try to have a little piece of the market and create some kind of a niche application. So let it be. Now, what is important in NVIDIA case that without NVIDIA's chips, no AI is possible. Okay, period. So any company which is raising billions of dollars from investors and so on, oh, we are going to do AI. So what the first thing they have to do is they have to talk to NVIDIA to acquire their chips. So whoever somebody raised $10 billion, great. What are you gonna do next day? Phone to NVIDIA and ask their
Hey
chips.
guys.
That's all what there is to it. Okay, I'm done.
Hey
Okay,
guys, well,
let's
definitely, I'm glad you popped in, Steve. Steve, you have said that we're talking about NVIDIA because Sasha is doing really well. He's down there in Aruba having his NVIDIA vacation. But I know that in your visit with Andrew Yang and with even Biden and Kamala, that they have talked about this whole notion of infrastructure. And contrary to what Nick wants and everything, they've also talked about having accessibility to computers and all of that around the country and all in that space. So I just wondered if you could share a little bit about the infrastructure bills that you've heard about from the halls of Congress and particularly around infrastructure development when it comes to computers.
Well, for everyone on the Roku TV family, I greet you live today from the nation's capital, Washington, D.C. And after I do that, Mark, if you could give me the liberty of just a few minutes to sharing my insights about Ukraine, and then I've got to run. I've actually got one more meeting and I got to go to another city and come back and leave tonight. But real quickly, to answer your question, I think that the infrastructure bill, we looking at about $3 trillion worth of infrastructure when you combine the ARP plan and the Inflation Reduction Act. And if we look at our own state of North Carolina, then let's not also forget the CHIPS Act, which is about $280 billion to bring back semiconductor manufacturing. So if you look at North Carolina, because that's where Mark Lee and Nick Paladiva and I live, and Kimberly Calhoun, there's been $36 billion of investment in the state, many of them in semiconductors, even green technologies like battery manufacturing, like Vinfast, Forge Nano, which is investing in Morrisville, my hometown. And so we're seeing the jobs come back. We're seeing billions of dollars invested in roads and bridges, and these are all creating jobs. And so I think there's a case to be made, Mark, that the amount of money that's coming in the system has actually prevented us from, now that we're through the pandemic, has prevented us from being in a recession. The problem is for the president is that the prices are not coming down. So even though inflation is coming down and then the Fed did not agree to reduce the rate, we're still in tough economic times. Of course, Nick Paladiva often reminds us about the debt, along with David Walker. And so that's my long answer to the question. Yes, infrastructure is working. If you go to the nation of India, for example, they're building high-speed rail. They're building an expressway across India. They're investing. The other thing, broadband. We forgot to talk about broadband. So 882,000 households now are connected. Internet bills are $30 lower. This is important for education. But if you look at India, they're aggressively investing. I mean, there's 1.2 billion now with the digital identity in India. There's not a place you can go in India without high-speed internet access. So, so that's a long answer to the question, Mark. But I want to engage with you guys, and then I want to close out on Ukraine, and I've got to go. But if any comments about that. And it's great to be up in D.C. It's quiet without the U.S. Congress. I was with Governor Cooper and 14 U.S. governors, including Governor Newsom last night at a reception for the DGA. And I was there for work, but it was great to hear the governors talk about infrastructure. So all these were Democratic governors talking about infrastructure. Lots of buzz going around about Newsom making a play for the White House. He was working the room pretty hard last night. And I did get his contact info, so hopefully we can try to bring him on our program. But he was working the room hard, so you never know. A rumor floating around here that he might be launching a last-minute presidential campaign from
Hey,
California.
Steve, along those lines and everything, because I just wanted to tease and see if you heard anything about there's been speculation about Michelle and Kamala running as well. So I was wondering if they were working the room. And then there was recent news, and I'd love to hear everybody's thoughts about this. But Malaya, who is one of the Obama's daughters, is a filmmaker, and one of the things that I read yesterday is that she's been getting a lot of pushback, and maybe Rick has some thoughts around this as well, because I think she's at Sundance at one of the filmmaking conferences and all along those lines, but she is going by Malaya Ann. She is not actually using the name Obama, and some people are thinking that's because of her wanting to keep a lower profile and maybe develop her own.
Is she married now? Is she married?
She is not married, as
Okay.
far as I know.
Well, before Rick Rosner goes, I've got to run because I've got to catch a train real quickly. I just want to end with this, and we'll begin the monologue on Monday about Ukraine. But I do say that when we come back on Monday, and I want Sasha Starr to address this, I think that we want to just first of all pray for the people of Ukraine, the resilience and strength. I truly believe that Vladimir Zelensky is the George Washington of our era, and the Ukrainians remind us that freedom is worth not only fighting for, but dying for. We're dealing with a tyrant here that is killing innocent people for the sake of bringing back Ukraine into the former Soviet Union. It has to stop. And I think Western aid is critical. Donald Trump's reelected. The aid is going to stop. So I, as an analyst, I'm just asking people to consider funding Ukraine. Right now, they're not in session. $95 billion aid deal on the table. I really think they need to pass it. And I'll end with this. What if the world had stopped when Adolf Hitler was invading Europe? What if we had just said it's not really our problem? Where would the world be today? I think it's a very similar situation. We need to step up. The United States of America needs to fund Ukraine. I know some people listening to this don't agree with me. I want to thank Sasha Starr for his resilience on the show and his other show. I'm fighting back tears and emotion right now as I speak from the Capitol because I think we have to realize what is going on. I just had to get that out there, guys, before I catch
Yeah, no doubt about that. Hey, just really quickly before you leave, and it actually ties into what you're saying and everything. What is the word on Capitol Hill about because I addressed it earlier at the beginning, the partial government shutdown, because it looks like we might be heading toward another government shutdown in the middle of the election. So what are people saying about that up there in the East?
This always comes up. We're not hearing much because they're not here today. But look, it's like the boy who cried wolf, right? We're going to cry and shut down. And then all of a sudden, I don't think they would shut the government down in the middle of an election. But God, at this point, Mark, who knows, right? I mean, I'm not hearing much about it. I think pretty much people just say that it's words and that they'll figure out a way to stop it at the end. And of course, the Nick Paladiva concern comes in of, the debt, right? But anyway, that's a long answer to your question.
Steve, it's all in the hands of Trump. If he will tell his puppet, Mike Johnson, a good-for-nothing, useless idiot, sorry.
Right.
If Donald Trump will say, let's do shutdown, and remember Trump, when he was president, there was a shutdown. Right. So if he will decide to do so, there will be a shutdown. And then he will campaign from his jails. He will complain that look at Biden, he's such a bad president, look at the shutdown and all this stuff. Yeah, by the way, his jail is located in West Palm Beach. It's the closest jail to Mar-a-Lago. So
I know. I mean, well, hey guys, I've got to run, but it's just so great to see the team. I love doing it from Washington. So, this is great. So it's nice not to have a Zoom screen. And I'm going to try to take a picture of this so I can have this on my screen, maybe starting on Monday. But have a great day, everyone. We pray for Ukraine. Okay. Sasha, thanks for the good point. I'll see you guys on Monday, okay?
Yeah. Are you looking for apartment? Are you looking for apartment in Washington?
Yeah, you never know. Well, I said Steve Rao reporting for duty in the nation's capital. Good to see you. Thank you all so much.
Appreciate everything. Hey, Toby, I just kind of mentioned earlier, there's definitely so much stuff that we can dwell in, but just really quickly, what is your thoughts around Malaya Ann and this notion that she doesn't want to go by the Obama name? And I know that sometimes people that are famous don't want to necessarily go by their family name. There might be some people that are trying to just own the names of Trump and everything, but I just wanted your take, because I saw that on Twitter, and apparently it was a big Twitter conversation, and Rick may have some thoughts around that as well.
Well, that's just her trying to pave her own way. That's all. I mean, it's nothing really outlandish or different. I mean, her name actually garners a lot of weight, and she doesn't want to utilize that to take advantage. There's goods and bads that come with that name, especially in our political world right now. There's no real big newsworthy thing about that. It's just she's trying to pave her own way.
Yeah,
But
that makes a lot of sense. Rick, any thoughts around that? And I was going to get
I don't. I haven't seen that conversation. I just want to say there's 8.5 months until the election. The
Right.
last time there was a surprise dropout of the major front runner was 56 years ago in 1968 when LBJ decided not to run for another term. I don't. It seems super unlikely. There's not enough time to get the American public familiar and with and liking another candidate besides Biden. If you run polls comparing Biden's chances to any other Democratic candidate's chances to beat Trump, Biden beats all the other Democrats. I think he'll stick in there. I just mentioned the polls, but I think the polls suck, and that Biden has, I don't know, roughly a 2/3 chance of getting reelected at this point.
Rick, you're right. I mean, honestly, the polls, we haven't hit the point where the polls are just Trump and Biden, truthfully. I mean, we're still in all honesty, the Republican Party is still split. The Democrat Party right now, a lot of people in Michigan, how they're Rashida Tlaib is doing the whole vote non-committed. Many of the individuals know that this is just the primary. So therefore, they're trying to send messages, hey, come listen to us, come earn our vote. So, and many of those have said, yeah, we know we're not voting for Trump. So if it's down to two people, they're going to either sit at home. Well, some of them will sit at home, but they're not changing over to Trump. So therefore, Trump's not winning that demographic. It's just right now, they're just trying to send messages. And until we get past this primary season, we won't have any more.
Jacoby, along those same lines, is there any fear in your mind or in others that are here on the panel's mind that this could be one of the most apathetic elections that we've had in a while? Because a number of people are not satisfied with either candidate. So I'm wondering if we're going to see the battle of the lesser of two evils and a whole lot of people sitting on their hands and not voting. We know that voting is an important right that we have here in the United States and in a lot of other democratic societies as well. But I'm just fearful that a lot of people are frustrated by both candidates and they may just opt out and everything. But I just wanted your take on that. And is that a legitimate fear? Because I want to say that the voting numbers were actually starting to spiral upward. More people were getting engaged, including some people that were not engaged before, because there were definitely more people that had been registered and everything. But now I'm afraid of it going the opposite direction. But I just wanted your take on that and leading the road.
In 2020, a higher percentage of Americans voted than in any other election in history. 2/3 of voting age Americans got in there and voted. Part of it was emphasis on voting by mail, voting by whatever you could do under COVID. Since then, the Republicans have tried to shut that down because the more people who vote, the worse it is for Republicans. You'll probably have fewer people voting this time around because the rules are more restrictive, but last time was the same two candidates and people are at least as pissed off this time around.
Well, speaking of pissed off, there is hold on a second. Speaking of pissed off, there's another part of the campaign, and I'd love to hear everybody's thoughts around this as well. But there is a anchor that has gotten himself in trouble because he has said that he thinks that more people are going to vote for Trump because apparently Trump is releasing a line of sneakers. And this particular anchor is saying that Black people and African Americans really enjoy their sneakers. So because of our infatuation with sneakers, we are going to see more folks voting because I think he's releasing a Trump line of sneakers or something like that. But I'm just wondering, I found that very offensive, but I just wanted your take on that and everything.
It is very offensive that, we can hawk sneakers and get Black people. That is really what he just said. But either way, he got booed at SneakerCon for releasing these idiotic shoes that look horrible that you can get at Walmart for $10. So and then you had this one lady jump on stage yelling, "Oh, he's a great man. Look at his family," all this crap. So no, he got booed at SneakerCon. You just can't release shoes and say, "Hey, black people, I got shoes."
That's not what happened. He sold out his sneakers like in 2 hours.
Yeah, he sold out his sneakers just like he sold out his cars.
Everybody on this panel is drinking the left Kool-Aid.
Nick, he did not sell out his sneakers. He bought his own sneakers to say he sold out. It's a marketing ploy. It's the same thing. He sold out his cars.
He's going to make a lot of money on his
This is where the honesty comes into play.
Yeah, right. Okay. Yeah,
he needs to sell 1 million pairs of sneakers to pay off his judgment. If when you buy the sneakers, you don't get the sneakers. You get a disclaimer that says your sneakers will be delivered in July.
Oh, really? Yeah. Okay. Well, the thing is, I don't know who in their right mind is going to spend $400 on sneakers that got spray painted with gold, which is what it looks like. I'm going like, if you want a Trump sneaker, just go buy a regular sneaker for like $20. Take a gold can of spray and just spray your sneaker. Now you got a Trump sneaker.
You got a Trump sneaker. Hey, Sasha, what's your thought on this? Hold on a second. Sasha's got a comment. I want to hear what Sasha's got to say about this sneaker ploy.
But please don't disparage the former president of the United States and the future president of the United States on this program. Please don't do that.
Sasha, your thoughts around this ploy? Let's hear Sasha.
This is very, very dangerous thing. Thank God the sneakers will be released only in June or July. So right now people only just spend around $400 for this legal defense. That's okay. Now the sneakers, when you will buy, and if you will dare to actually wear them, my God, you're exposing yourself to a great real violence, because people who are against Trump, and there are a lot of people against Trump, but you see, they have to organize political campaigns, they have to put advertising,
Sasha?
cost money. But here it's very easy. You just break the legs of the idiots.
You're going to be wearing
all what you have to do is break the motherfucker.
Come on, Sasha.
That's
you
all.
Wear the Trump sneakers.
You have Trump sneakers. Okay, go to the hospital. Okay.
Sasha,
Mark, did you hear the same thing I did? Sasha's demonizing, saying the left is violent.
Yeah. Well, the left is violent. We're
out of control.
It will be proud boys who have no money to buy those sneakers, so they will just beat them up and get away their sneakers.
Go. Everybody needs to go out.
Hold on a second. I've got another very serious question for Lee and everything. So I've got a very serious question for Lee to ask and everything, because we know that there is the possibility, because we have two folks that may be in the White House one of these days, if that is the will of the people and everything. But Steve is definitely doing some serious lobbying up there in DC, meeting all the right people and everything. Lee Newton Rhodes, you actually have run a campaign. You've run a national campaign and all along those lines. So I want to know, are you going to have any Lee Newton Rhodes sneakers that me and Sasha and Jacoby and Nick need to get? Because definitely I'm thinking that this might be something that might boost your campaign and everything. So I want to know Lee Newton Rhodes.
I'm not sure why they're doing sneakers. They should do hats or something, because when you do hats, it's in the person's face.
That's right.
You can see whose logo's on the hat. Get a hat or a tie, not sneakers on the ground. Who's looking down?
He's still selling hats. I mean, hats are what he's best known for.
The MAGA hat.
He's made it impossible to wear a regular red hat out in public because people see it from behind and think you're a MAGA, at least in L.A.
Hey, Rick, how come we don't see any Biden hats?
Hold a second, Rick. Hasn't that been going on for a while? Because wasn't that part of the conversation in gang mentality and everything? Because people would see you wearing one color and think that you were or wear another color and think that you wear blood.
Yeah, you don't want to wear blue in a Bloods area, because Bloods color is red. But yeah, that was what, 30 years ago now? 40?
But that's about violent gangs. Why would someone over politics beat up somebody because they're voting for the opposite person?
So there's actually, I mean, if we're going to take it that serious route, thinking about the violence around political politics.
We see it at sports games too, Jacoby. I never understood that. Maybe you can explain that at sport games.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of emotion wrapped in each person's team, and yes,
it's just a game.
Yeah, but politics and that sports team is like, you've seen videos of when a person's team loses, they smash their TV or run over their TV and all this other stuff.
But another person?
Same thing even when a sports team wins and you go out and celebrate the Super Bowl. Matter of fact, there were two people that got into an argument at the Kansas City Chiefs celebration and ended up shooting and killing some people. So anger and emotion gets wrapped up and it gets shifted. And that's the same thing that's happening in politics.
I'm not a good fighter, but I like getting in a fight, even if I get knocked to the ground. And
why?
During why? Because it's fun. Like once you get punched in the
getting
face
into a fight.
It's fun. But in bars, I bounced bars for a long time, somebody punches you in the face, it's not that bad. Most people don't know how to punch. But like during Trump's first term, I was just waiting for somebody to be a Trumpy dick in public, and so I could get in a fight with them. And there was one time when this guy walked into Sharky's restaurant, and it looked like there was going to be trouble, but it turned out he was just crazy. He wasn't Trumpy. He tried to cash a $1 million check at the counter. So that I'm not going to get in a fight.
Have you tried getting into the ring, either martial arts or boxing?
No, because those people know what they're doing, and then they would hit me in the head a bunch of times and give me brain
Obviously, you were
damage.
trained for it. I understand that, but that would be a more civilized way of doing it.
But along those same lines, I see Nick's hat and everything. But along those same lines, and I'd love to hear everybody talk about this because we actually talked with one of the other founders offline and everything, but it is a conversation we've had on this network and everything. And I did hear Sasha one time argue that we will never have what I have talked about, which is that whole John Lennon imagined kind of lifestyle where there is peace on earth and all in that space. So are we overly tribalistic? Because even in politics, there's been this whole notion of populism and people that are very much protective of their country, whether it's Spain, whether it's the United States, or whatever. So is this something that we will never get past? Is this tribalistic nature? And I know that there have been people that were even critical, because if you heard, Steve, hold on a second, you heard that Steve was at a conference of Democratic governors, and there were some people that would be like, why do the Democrats have to have a meeting of only Democratic governors? Why does there have to be a Black caucus? Why does there have to be a Hispanic caucus? So what is our thoughts around this notion of tribalism and there being these groups that are kind of oriented toward one group or another?
Yes, tribalism and tribalistic mentality, that's always part of us because, as nomads growing up, and I mean, look at animals themselves. They create sections themselves. I mean, it's a natural thing. But in terms of what Lee was talking about, in terms of why people fight, I mean, heck, we get into arguments here, and sometimes our emotions take us to places that we don't really expect. That's where fights come from.
Jacoby, we get into disagreements here. And at the end of the day, we're friends. We're never going to get to a physical altercation because we disagree on whatever.
But what happens between us here isn't always the norm for every single person. So my pointing that out as an example that, yes, we get to a point where we're still going back and forth. Well, yeah, there are people that do the same thing, but they end up crossing a line. And once that line is crossed, then a fight begins. And that's all emotion, and that's all part of what Rick was talking about, how he enjoys it. Well, there are some people that enjoy the fights and are just waiting for that. And once that line crosses, guess what we're doing? We're fighting.
But in a civilized society, should we cross that line willingly?
Who says we're civilized?
You speak for
there's a three-legged stool of partisanism, of division. You got the money in politics, which attracts kind of scummy politicians. You've got gerrymandering, which locks in the divisions, and you've got the partisan news 24 hours a day. MSNBC on one side, Fox on the other side.
Rick, if I can add to that, you also have something else that is very common. There was whole studies around it. Kim Genovese, I think, was part of it, because there were folks that were watching it. I think Trump plays into it as well. But there is also this notion of the bystander mentality, because there are a number of people that will not just watch, be engaged in the fight, but there are a number of people that will, while willingly watch the fight, and in some cases egg on the fighters and everything. There are some people that would argue that even in our national and international discourse, that there are some people that are intentionally prodding the bear, even when it comes to Ukraine, Russia, and Israel.
Look on YouTube for Waffle House fights. Waffle House has some of the best fight videos where just like people who work at Waffle House don't take any crap, and people like seeing that stuff. Also, we've got in April a movie called, I think, Civil War is coming out, which is like a Michael Bay version of what happens when things get so bad in the U.S. that we actually go to war with each other.
Yeah, that film actually looks scary because it feels like a documentary of what's going on, which is really scary. The trailer of that, it looks awesome. But
to you and me, it's scary. To Rick, it's dessert. It's a party.
It's so simply, but in terms of what we're talking about, simply put, in a civilized society, we watch car races for the car wrecks. Mm-hmm. Boxing used to be the #1 sport in our country. Actually, dog fighting used to be up there as well. Cockfighting used to be up there as well. We watch football right now. The #1 sport in the U.S. is about hitting the person with the ball. It is not about anything else but hitting the person with the ball.
Hey, Jacoby, I can go one further, and we can even make it. I can go one further. We can even make it international. What is rugby about? Because last time I checked, that is a very violent sport. It's even more violent than football.
Rugby is about pushing around too. I don't know why you guys are so wimpy about this. What's wrong with all that?
Also, there's one other thing. Russia is actively pushing. Russia does tens of millions of dollars, spends tens of millions of dollars a year pushing division on social media. They've got a whole building full of people who work for the government in Russia who put out bullshit every day to make people pissed off at each other in Western democracies.
It's not division, it's argumentation. It's looking at different ideas.
Nick, you're an attorney.
I mean, that's the whole theory of our country is to be able to explore different ideas. And of course, you're going to have controversy, which is one reason you need lawyers. So I don't see why you guys have a problem with this.
It's not discussion. When I go on Twitter and I call somebody an idiot or a moron, I said Tommy Tuberville couldn't find his dick if his hands were super glued to his dick. That's not orderly discussion or argument.
No, that isn't. That's because you don't know how to argue. You didn't go to law school, Rick. That's called an ad hominem argument. So you have to get rid of the ad hominem argument and stick to the issues, counselor.
Yeah, so if you look at X, if you look at Twitter, it's nothing but it's more of what.
We need more lawyers. That's what we need. If we have more lawyers, more law schools.
Hey, Nick, hold on a second. Nick, speaking of more lawyers, because I
do go to law school, guys.
Nick, hold on a second. Nick, speaking of more lawyers, because I brought it up earlier in the discussion. We still got a few minutes to go and everything. Are we concerned? Because it's not just South Korea. It's also here in the United States. I think Kim has even brought it up before and everything. When you got 75% of your trainees walking out in a protest in South Korea, and you've got folks that are doctors here, and I hope that some of our past doctors will come back, and I know Jacoby's wife is in that medical field and everything. Are we concerned that we're going to get to the point that we don't have enough people to take care of us if we get ill, whether we're in South Korea or whether we're in a number of other places as well? Because when I heard that figure, I'm going like 75% of your trainee doctors are not on the in that country. You got a problem, and I think that we got a problem here with the amount of doctors that are complaining about their pay.
We don't have that problem because we have the savior of the world is coming to us in November, Donald Trump. And he's going to solve all the problems, including the medical problem.
And how's he going to solve the problem with the doctors? What's he going to do with the doctors? Is he going to do a air traffic controller and fire them all?
Hold on. I get it.
The savior of the world is coming in November.
I understand now. You see,
Trump.
See, you guys didn't catch that. Let me help you out. Let me tie what's going on right now. So Nick was just saying we need more lawyers. And who needs more lawyers? Donald Trump.
There we go.
The
It is, there is not enough
The Attorney
lawyers.
Full Employment Act
Both
of
is lots of
2024,
cases,
Donald Trump.
criminal and civil. There are not enough lawyers in the United States. We really need more lawyers. By the way, Nick, do you think Trump will get visiting rights in his jail?
Well, I don't know. I'm trying to figure out if he's gonna get medical care if he goes to jail, if he gets sick and everything. Because there is some cases here, even locally, where there has not been great medical care for our prisoners and everything. As a matter of fact, there have been some complaints around that, and some people are like, "Well, prisoners don't need medical care in that space." But that's been a complaint both here in North Carolina as well as throughout the country. But I also figured out something else, Jacoby, and everything. I think personally that not only is Nick trying to start Pod TV and make Pod TV a national and international television agency and everything, but I think that Nick is personally campaigning, and I hope you're listening, Mr. Trump and everything, to be Trump's next lawyer. So I think that Sasha is campaigning. I mean, I think that
Nick wants to get paid. Nick doesn't want to live.
Or Mr. Trump.
Trump
I don't think he pays. That's the problem. You're right, Rick. Yes,
the thing with doctors and caregivers is a demographic problem around the world. One quarter of the world's countries have declining populations, which means that, like Japan, doesn't have enough young people to take care of all the old people. So what happens is Japan uses a lot of like helper robots, which aren't great yet, but that's what the deal is going to be, that when you start using AI and robots, if they're used properly, you actually get a better quality of medical care because
Rick, I gotta ask you a question and everything, because I just need to understand this and all things. I know a number of people that are more trustworthy, and I'm not saying that they're not great and everything, but everybody on the panel, would you rather, if you have to have a major operation, like you have to have heart transplant or something along those lines, would you rather it be done by a doctor or would you rather it be done by a robot?
I had robot surgery at UCLA. I had a tumor in my kidney, and the doctors did not work. They were at video games. There were two surgeons, and they were operating this robotic arm with 5 fingers. It looked like a Freddy Krueger arm with knife hands, and they just like did joysticks to get the thing, very good results. So
Sasha, what's your thoughts? Because I know you got some.
Mark, did you show them the thing I showed you the other day? That's the scariest thing ever.
I showed it to them before the thing on SOAR. Yeah, I think I showed it a couple of episodes ago. I think I showed it on World Politics too.
Wait, what's so scary that I missed it?
Okay, let me show you
on World Politics.
I need to see something scary. We need to turn this into a horror show. I know it's pretty horrible.
This right here, Nick. This is
anything for ratings.
Anything for ratings, baby. So what's so horrible, Toby? Besides all the people on this panel.
There you go. I put it up there.
Yeah,
you did.
So this right here, Nick.
Oh, her. She doesn't seem horrible. She seems attractive. So what's your problem?
She's not real.
So what?
That's AI.
And you have a problem with that? Don't you fall into love with AI?
You ever watch cartoons, Jacoby?
The fact of the matter is, they just plugged in. This is exactly what they plugged in just to get this to look like this.
Yeah, so what?
They plugged in a stylish woman walks down a Tokyo street filled with warm, glowing neon and animated city signage. She wears black. So basically, they just typed this into a computer in terms of AI.
I don't know why
they created this 10-second thing.
Like, are you scared of Marvel movies? Come on, Jacoby, you scared of Marvel movies? It's all AI. It's all CGI.
That's what they're utilizing. They're utilizing AI right now to interfere in elections. But now they can create videos that look completely real. And this is the worst,
Jacoby,
ever.
I'm going to throw something out there for Jacoby and Nick.
This is called technology.
Let's say she was underage. Would that be child porn theoretically? Is that covered by anything when it's not real? It's not a real person?
Now that guy's scary. Is he AI?
This is all AI.
Yeah, this is all AI.
Yeah. Well, he's just scary. I don't like to look at him. He's like a scary dude.
I mean,
I'd send him back. I'd keep her, send him back.
This is a drone picture. This is straight AI.
It's all technology. What are you going to show me next? A car? Do you know their cars are going to replace horses? Come on,
But the thing
Jacoby.
is,
Give it
it's
up.
just thinking about
You're scared of progress. I don't know why you're so scared of progress. You're
It's
scared
not-
of robots. You're scared of AI.
it's understanding. You're
No, but
Everything else,
hey, hold on a second. I got to come back to what Rick just asked and everything, because I just recently got a. Hold on a second. I got to come back to what I'm sorry, not Rick, but Lee just answered and everything. Because you can go on a phone right now. I could actually pull up my phone right now, and you will see a number of people that are advertising all kinds of games. I love some of the word games and all along those lines, and some of the logic games and all in that space. But there are also a number of people that are advertising literally on your phone, and this means that your family's phones are getting them too, that you can actually download an AI girlfriend off of your phone and have an entire conversation with them and all in that space. So I'm thinking, Lee, to your point, you could literally have a AI relationship, an AI relationship in that space as well. So whether that would be considered child porn or not would depend, because like I said, there's some of those folks that I've seen on the imagery are very realistic, similar to what Jacoby just showed and everything. But I don't have any kids, but with my 14 and 15-year-old nephews know the difference, and definitely some of my friends that have younger kids that are like 7 or 8, would they know the difference, and could that impact their development in terms of their emotional growth and all along those lines? So,
Mark, how do we know Jacoby's real? Maybe he's virtual.
Jacoby is definitely virtual.
I wish I were virtual. If I were virtual, I wouldn't have bills.
Well, maybe he is real. But the thing is, see, I don't think this is
TMI.
This is progress. You just have to get used to the progress that taken place. And progress is also this. We got to bring it back to my favorite topic: immigration. Let these people in, buddy. I mean, they're sitting there. They want to go to the United States. They want to work. Open the doors. Interview them.
Nick, should we have doors even? Let's just get rid of the doors.
Pardon?
Get rid of the doors.
Yeah, get rid of the doors. Right. Why should we have
all comers?
Doors? I mean, we are the United States of America. We are the land of immigrants. We do have a little sign that says
Nick, I'm sorry, Nick, just one question. Nick, do you still live in a gated community?
Pardon?
Do you still live in a gated community?
No, unfortunately, I don't. They don't have that many gated communities in Durham. But if they let them all in, I am, or I'm going to move to another country. But see, in the meantime, I don't have any problems. Let them all in. Come on, Lee.
So we won't have enough native-born people to take care of all the old people. So you either got to go with robots or immigrants.
We need to train them to be medical doctors, train them to be medical doctors, train them to be lawyers. Very important. First thing you should do when they come in, send them to law school. Let them learn the laws of the United States. Send them to medical school, and bring them in. Last year we had 3.8 million people. Most of our growth actually came from immigrants. And get rid of all this fear. I know Jacoby's afraid of everything. So he's afraid of immigrants. I am not afraid of immigrants. I am sorry. I've been to their countries. These people are fine. Bring them in and get rid of your fear. Oh, they're immigrants.
Why are you afraid of immigrants? Hold on. So if we had, honestly,
why are you afraid of immigrants?
I love immigrants. I wish we would create more pathways for immigrants to allow them in, because they're searching for a better life. They have the lowest crime rate they have a lower crime rate compared to native-born Americans. And funny thing is, you go into a gated community to avoid the native-born Americans and not the immigrants.
So you go to a gated community because these people belong there, because that's the next step before they go to jail, because they usually committed.
It would be great, because just like Rick pointed out, I mean, and we just argued about, hey, we need more doctors, we need more of this. Immigrants are a positive thing for society. I don't know why
none of the media is talking about it. See, that's what really gets me. The media should be talking about how great it is. Would be nice if Sasha was in the United States, not in Canada and Aruba. But Sasha's smart. Once he came over here, realized the United States sucks. So went to Canada. A lot of these people, once they come here, they'll realize this place sucks, and they'll move on to Canada or something, or they'll go back to their other country. But in the meantime, there are a lot of people from China that want to come here. There's a lot of people from Cuba, Venezuela. Open the doors, let them in, give them their cards, their work visas, and have them go to work. We don't even have enough workers here.
The U.S. has the lowest rate of population growth in its entire history. A woman, each woman needs to average 2 kids to do population replacement based on birth. Right now in America, the average is 1.6. We do not replace our population.
Yeah, and it's
birth.
killing our social security system.
Rick, maybe we should encourage the women to get married earlier and have more children.
Well, Elon Musk says, that women need to have more babies, but women are saying, F you, Elon Musk, you're not the boss of me.
Yeah, well, Elon Musk had a lot of babies from a lot of different wives, so you know.
Wasn't there a whole TV series, Jacoby, that definitely just said what Leading New Roads encouraged? As I remember it, Handmaid's Tales was about mandating that us men mandating that women have children, and in some cases we're actually surrogate parents and everything, because some of the women could not have children, so there were surrogates that were created, and that's what that whole science fiction novel was about, and it became a movie. And there are some
Mark, a lot of people do get adopted.
Community that have argued that we are heading toward that. I know some friends of mine that are in the feminist community that argue that they are afraid that we are very close to that right now, because it is such a patriarchal society that we live in, and they're afraid that their rights are being taken away.
It's sad. If you listen to what they said at CPAC, it sounded just like they did on the Republic of Gilead. Oh, we got to have this manly society. It wasn't guys saying that. It was Laura Trump, it was Laura Trump who got out there and yelled that crap out. So, I want my child to grow up in a manly. Yeah, that's the same thing they said on the Republic of Gilead and the Handmaid's Tale. I mean, it just sounds horrible. We shouldn't do that.
But the good thing is that if you look at the number of empty seats at CPAC, they used to have overflowing crowds. The more lunatic the Republicans get, the more people they lose.
Yep. But that is that 1/3.
Rick, where are they going?
They just get apathetic about the whole thing.
And it's not that they're going to the other side. They just leave politics to begin with.
That's what I just argued. That's what I just argued, is that I feel that there's going to be a steady slide towards people that will not vote. And I know we're going to go to Sasha's show and everything, but Sasha, you have said several times that you don't think that Trump can win and everything, but are you not concerned that that there will be an uptick on people that won't vote, and that his base will vote so strongly, and the other folks are sitting on their hands, or as folks in my family would call it, sitting on their ass and everything, and therefore he wins? So is that not a concern of yours at all, as one that is adamantly anti-Trump?
Step by step. First of all, he has 26 days left until he has to put $600 million to fight further appeals and all that stuff. So if he's not going to come up with this money, he already asked for a technical delay of 1 month. Mm-hmm. So far, he was not granted. And Letitia James already eyeing the one of his buildings at 40. What is the title? 40 Wall Street. It's Trump's building. So she's now. Remember, it's not going to be a sale of assets as you normally sell. You advertise. You try to. It's going to be a fire sale, liquidation style. So whatever. Okay, here is a 40 Wall Street. Okay, somebody will pay. I don't know, say $500. Okay, somebody will pay $650. Okay, somebody will pay a couple of $1,000. Somebody will pay $100,000. Sold. Next. So it's going to be a liquidation sale. Trump will get nothing out of it, period, because all his properties are heavily mortgaged, and there is very little equity. So I will be surprised if he'll get anything out of it. Okay, he will just lose all his properties for next to nothing. So once that's done, then they're looking into criminal proceedings against him. There's nothing great is going to happen in criminal proceedings against Trump. So you're looking that either he will be in jail and nobody will work with him. Simply nobody is very, okay, his base, a few idiots will work for him, but that's about it. So whoever, whether it's Joe Biden or just nobody, will win by default, simply because there is a rule nobody fight.
When Trump sells sneakers, he doesn't win new voters. He disgusts more voters than he wins. When he says things like, yeah, we should just let Putin do whatever he wants to Europe, he doesn't win new voters.
Did you hear the lunacy he said? I think it might have been last night, how he was at some speech and it was just dumb. Like normal. We're gonna mandate God, or we're gonna protect God and we're gonna protect the AM radio stations. AM radio, we're gonna protect and he kept repeating it. It was if people actually listen to what he says instead of, oh well, Trump is great.
On that note, we got to get out of here because he's got to do his Russia, Ukraine, China show. He's actually got Jonathan waiting for him and all along those lines. So we're going to bounce over me and Sasha, but we'll be back with more interesting discussion on next week. And I think that we might even have some guests, including some guests dealing with Ukraine, according to Steve and some other folks. So we'll definitely have some guests hopefully coming in next week as well. But right now we're going to get on out of here, and I will see Sasha on the other side in the Ukraine, Russia, China show that Jonathan is waiting for him at, and all along those lines. But we're going to get on out of here.